So what are the most important pieces to focus on when initiating a Braintrust framework to a leadership team for the very first time? Like someone's setting up brand new, maybe their team doesn't even know about Braintrust. What are the things that they need to have in place to make sure that it works the way it's intended to work?
For us, it was an evolution. When we made Toy Story, it was our luck, and I'll take luck when we can get it. But we had 4 remarkable people who were the leadership of that team. And what was remarkable is they'd have these intense discussions, and it was never personal. And it evolved over time until it's no longer a group of people. There is not a group of people called the Braintrust. It's the way we run offsites and the way we run meetings. And it operates with basically 4 rules. One of them is that we try to keep the power out of the room. And what that means is that the creative leaders make the final decision. It's not made by me, it wasn't made by John Lasseter or anybody else. The creative leaders are the ones that make the decision. The purpose of this meeting is simply to point out issues, make suggestions, or talk about things, but by keeping the power out, try to make it safe. Second part of that is the people presenting the projects know that they have problems. So very frequently, they're pretty vulnerable. And one has to respect that they are vulnerable. We are there to help, and we have to make sure, and that's the reason you keep the power out of the room, is to make it safe for them to listen. Another thing is to recognize the human dynamics. People frequently want to look good. They don't want to say anything that's stupid or embarrassing. They may be motivated by not wanting to hurt anybody else who might be vulnerable. So you've got all sorts of reasons why people may not be honest. And so our job is to make it safe for people to be honest with each other. Now, as the group knows that, you don't have to explain this anymore. But in general, this works very well. Now, when I say keep power out of the room, for instance, there are people who've got power, like personal power. You know, they fill the room. And there are 2 people in particular who are that way. And the rule, which they in general respected, was they had to shut the hell up for the first 15 minutes. They weren't supposed to talk. And the reason is, if they talked, they were setting the tone. But if they waited 15 minutes, they're entering a discussion. And that's a different relationship. And that's the relationship that we wanted. So, in general, as I say, it worked very well. Once in a while, it went off the rails for various reasons. My job was actually to look at the dynamics of the room. It's always fun to make comments on movies, but that's not the job. The job is to make sure that the dynamics are working well in that room. So occasionally it didn't work well, usually it worked well, but every once in a while, magic would happen. And by magic, I meant that ego left the room and that ideas would come and go without people becoming attached to them. So you'd put out an idea, it might help, it may not help. If it didn't help, it didn't matter. Everybody there is focused on the problem. And when you reach that state, and I would usually say with each film there's probably 1 Braintrust meeting that happened that way, then it would make this amazing progress. So that was the ideal. And these were usually 2 to 3 hour meetings after the screening of a film. And we need that full day and 3/4 with that rhythm in order to break through. Now, it took us a while to figure this out. And the reason I tell the story is that's a story that we use for filmmaking. But each one of you in your companies, you have different rhythms, different groups of people. And the important thing is, say, okay, I'm going to start off with something, and we're going to keep improving it. Why does it work? Why doesn't it work? What do we have to do to make it work? And you just figure this out. That's the management job. Is developing your own Braintrust culture, which is one based upon the trust and honesty. And it isn't like every meeting's like this, they're not, but you have some like this because they're critical to the product of what you're making in your company. And it's solvable. It's just going to require a lot of thought and stepping back and making some mistakes along the way and then figuring out how to make it better.